Hi everyone, welcome back to another video in the Web Security Academy series. In today's video, we'll be covering lab number 4 in the command injection module titled Blind OS Command Injection with Out-of-Band Interaction. If you do not have an account on the Web Security Academy, you can get one by visiting the URL portswigger.net/websecurity and clicking on the sign up button. I already have an account and I am logged in, so to access the exercise, I'm going to click on Academy, go down, select the learning path, go down, select command injection, go down one more time, and select lab number 4 titled Blind OS Command Injection with Out-of-Band Interaction. Alright, let's get started. This lab contains a blind OS command injection vulnerability in the feedback function. The application executes a shell command containing the user supplied details. The command is executed asynchronously and has no effect on the application's response. It is not possible to redirect output into a location that you can access. However, you can trigger out-of-band interactions with an external domain. So the attack that we performed in the previous lab doesn't work because you're not allowed to redirect output in another location. So you actually have to send an out-of-band connection to an external domain that you control. To solve the lab, exploit the blind OS command injection vulnerability to issue a DNS lookup to Burp Collaborator. And we've got a note right over here saying to prevent the Academy platform from being used to attack third parties, our firewall blocks interactions between the labs and arbitrary external systems. To solve the lab, you must use Burp Collaborator's default public server. So unfortunately, we're stuck using Burp Suite Professional because that has access to the Collaborator server and the free version doesn't. So let's right-click and access the lab. And in the meantime, open up Burp Suite Professional. Hit Next, hit Start Burp, hit OK, and let's make this a little bit smaller. Set Foxy Proxy to send requests to Burp. Go to Home, and you could see that the request was intercepted in the Proxy tab. Go to HTTP history so that we could see the requests that we're making, and then click on Submit Feedback. And this is the exact same application that we've been working with in the past couple of slides. So we're going to submit feedback over here. So let's say test.ca, and then again the subject is just test and the message is just test. Click on Submit Feedback, and you could see over here you get a response saying thank you for submitting the feedback. So we already know that the email field is the one that is vulnerable. However, if you didn't know which field was vulnerable, you would test each parameter for command injection just to see if it's vulnerable. Okay, so if we look at our post request right over here, you could see that the response of the request is just saying thank you for submitting the feedback, and so you don't receive the content of the request that you made. And this means this is not an in-band command injection, it's a blind command injection. And we've seen techniques before where you could redirect output of the command injection to other pages that are publicly visible in the application. However, we saw in the description of the lab that this is not possible. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try and trigger an interaction with an out-of-band server that we control. And that server over here is going to be Burp Collaborator because that's what's listed in this lab. So if we right-click and send to repeater over here, again, just hit send to see that it's working. And let's make the response a little bit bigger. Okay, this looks good. And we know that the email field is the one that is vulnerable over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Burp and then select Burp Collaborator Client. And then we're going to click on Copy to Clipboard. So this is going to be our external server that we control. So we're going to try to perform a DNS lookup on the server to confirm that this is vulnerable to blind command injection. Alright, so to do that, let's go back to Burp over here and put it right over here. So we want to inject our payload in the email field because again, we know that's the one that is vulnerable. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to add the end character and then perform an NS lookup on our collaborator client. And then we're going to use the hash sign in order to comment out the rest of the string for this command. This is so that we don't run into any errors. So let's copy this, put it in the email field, and then highlight the whole thing. And we have too many spaces over here, so let's put only one space, although I doubt that matters. And then do Control U to URL encode it. And before we hit send, I'm going to open up Web Collaborator Client and put it side by side. So if this is vulnerable to blind command injection, we should see a ping back to our domain. So hit send. And if we click on poll now, you could see that it performed a DNS request to our domain, which means that this is vulnerable to blind command injection. And if we look at it over here, you could see that a lookup was received from the IP address 3.251.104.183, which would be this web application over here, and it was performed to our server. And if you go back to the lab over here, you could see that it says, congratulations, you solved the lab. All right, so we successfully completed the exercise by exploiting a blind command injection in order to perform an out-of-band interaction to our external server. In the next lab, we'll look into how to use this out-of-band interaction in order to actually extract data from the application itself or the host operating system.